I am joined by a very special guest, somebody that I've been, this is going to sound so weird. Somebody that I've been, like, I don't even, I'm getting flushed now. Tracy Lynn is more than just a teacher. She is somebody that I've been following since last year. I found her through a mutual friend, and there's just certain people that for me anyway, there's certain people when you're on social media that you're really drawn to for whatever reason. And Tracy was this person for me. I happened to stumble on one of her Instagram reels, and I was like obsessed. Like, she's just, when you guys see this video or when you start following her, you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. Tracy Lynn, welcome to the show. I'm just going to continue to go on.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is amazing. It's an honor to be here.
Well, thank you so much. You're joining us from the opposite side of the country.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I actually didn't, I guess I didn't know where you resided. But like I was saying, last year I was in a pretty big rut, just like a lot of people I knew. And I've always been such a fan of movement and, yeah, like just getting in my body and being able to connect to myself through movement. And I wasn't doing any of it last year. And so it's one of those things for me where if I'm not doing the things that I know make me feel good, it's just a perpetual cycle of you're going to crave more of the imbalance, right? And
Yeah.
so what I was telling you before we started recording was just seeing you just move so gracefully, and the music that you would play, and just you're just, you could just see somebody. I'm like, God, this person, I just want to be this person's friend. Like, so anyway, I know I'm sounding like a total creeper. There's I have so many questions about your relationship to movement, because it seems like you've had um, a long expertise in it. So yeah, I'm just curious. Like, yeah, why are you so fucking amazing? Like, can you answer that? Is that not a very articulate question?
I
Welcome
mean,
to the show, by the way.
yeah. I didn't know my biscuits were going to get this buttered before we started. Um, you just took my confidence to 1,000. Thank you. Wow. Like movement's always been a part of my life, but it's been in so many different forms that it's really hard to pin down when it became what it was now,
Hmm.
which is like ultimately an act of self love. And it took a really long time for me to transform it into that because because my parents were, Olympic level swimmers, and my dad was in the Olympics for water polo, like we were supposed to be these like Olympic swimmers. And I was like, no. Plus, like when I was a kid, I was more interested in getting high and like not being what my parents wanted me to be. So, like, I'm not interested in swimming practice. I want to go smoke as much weed as possible. That, but that's kind of how it started.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, that's a lot of pressure to come from a family that's like, this is what's required of you, right?
Like they were and they weren't at the same time. Like I don't
Mm.
want to paint them in this way of they were like, you must do this, like almost like they're like cheer parents or something. Like they've always been so supportive of whatever I do, except a couple of things, of course. They've, especially my mother has been like, I would really prefer if you didn't shave off half your head and get tattoos. But what are you going to do? So yeah, it's like what I do now is ritual. It's a mashup of all of the different movement styles that I was taught as these methods of like healing, especially when I got sober almost 15 years ago, and I kind of had to like come back into movement in a new way. And that's when I started doing yoga and stuff. And then like I came into dance. Like I came into dance totally like in the opposite way that you need to do dance stuff. Like I'm around these people that have been dancing since they were 3, and my dork asses, and they're just like, da, 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 like trying to not look like a total buffoon, you know?
Yeah, no, I love that. That recovery was then your catalyst to that connection. I always love to hear people's stories on how they find that connection. The way I see it, it's like the mind, body, and spirit connection. Like what brings us back to our bodies, especially if we have a history of, uh, disassociating with our body, or moving out of our body, so to speak.
Oh my God. I was violent towards my body, completely violent, and had zero regard for like, yeah, it was, I mean, I had to start from scratch, you know?
What was that process like for you? Like, how did you know that you needed to? How did you know you needed to change something, or did you feel like something was missing? Like, how did that happen?
I mean, definitely after, like, I'm just going to go here and jump in, y'all. So, like, just because we don't have a lot of time, you know, like, definitely after a failed suicide attempt. And I was like, okay, I guess I really need to live. So, I'm going to cut this shit out. Like, everything I do, I'm such a fucking Aries. Like, it's all or nothing. It's either black or it's white. It's all the way through. So I'm like, well, I'm going to get sober and I'm going to get super sober. So I'm going to do AA and I'm going to do AA super hard. Like, I'm going to do AA more than any of you guys do AA. I just left AA, by the way, like within the pandemic times. I had like a moment of clarity where I was like, holy shit, like, why am I using this very out? No disrespect to anybody that use it, because I think it's a very excellent program. But for me at this point in my life, I outgrew it, especially because I experienced some really heavy trauma within the program from members. And I realized I
Oh,
needed to process it outside of the space and outside of the lens of 12 steps. And I, so far, haven't gotten drunk yet. So that's great. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm doing something right. But, but yeah, it's like, it just took these moments of extremes, and also realizing like I don't necessarily have to settle in one place either. I can
mm-hmm.
dance between both areas. I can vacillate. I can be here, there. I can fall apart. I can pick myself back up. And that's kind of been my most healing transition, is realizing that I also don't need to look at it through these lenses of perfection, or like,
Oh,
you know, the way Instagram sells healing, or like all those things,
yes,
you know, like
yes,
it doesn't
yeah,
have to look like that.
yeah. I think that's such a big source of contention for a lot of people, right? We feel that, oh, it doesn't, my practice doesn't look like yours, so that means I'm not good. Or if I'm not doing it this way, it means that it's wrong. Or,
Right.
oh, I can't ever do that with my body, so that means it's not for me, you know?
Yeah.
God, there's so much. You said so many things. I'm like, where can we go? What can we discuss? Because, this using yoga as, or movement as a modality for healing has been hugely impactful in my life. And I will say again what I said at the beginning, that last year was a really, really hard year. And even somebody that has the tools and has the knowledge, like, what to do, especially if you work the program, what you need to do to make yourself feel better. It's like,
Yes.
chop wood, carry water, chop wood, carry water. You got to just do the things and, go through this process. But at the end of the day, like, that doesn't make you immune to feeling like shit sometimes, you know? And
Yeah.
so I think it's important to be able to create an ecosystem within your life so that you can show up for yourself and do the things that you need to do in order to feel better. And so, I mean, you can share as much or as little as you want. Like I said, I mean, it's really up to you. But I mean, I know that there's a lot of people over the course of the last year and even the beginning of this year that have really gone through some really dark and in low times,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what have you seen has been helpful for you, and what have you seen has been helpful for the people that you work with or your students or the people in your life?
I love that question because, at least for me, not everybody had this opportunity, because all of my work was based in teaching in studios and in inpatient and outpatient treatment facilities. So when COVID happened, everything shut down. So like the faucet turned off. And I realized like I'm overfilling my life because I don't want to deal with this ugly shit that I pushed down here, that I smushed all the way down. And when there was space, it came back up. And I really feel like collectively people were experiencing that. My partner, on the other hand, was having this complete opposite experience where it was like, no matter what, it was like, hey, you're a part of the machine, go to work. You don't get 2 weeks off, go. So we were like running parallel and colliding with each other a lot on these feelings because I felt an absence and he felt like there was an overwhelming feeling about it. So there's people from all these different spaces now, coming into this digital world of like, doing their therapy online, doing their yoga online, not being reliant on the energy of a group fitness space. And for me, I really latched onto it because for a moment, it wasn't about who else was in the room or what I was seeing in the mirror. It was really about feeling all of the feelings, which is something that I'm listening to a book right now by Gabor Mate called When the Body Says No. And so much of that is about like how illness happens in us when we don't let ourselves feel, when we suppress emotion. And like, girl, I was in bathtubs crying almost every day. I mean, like everything came up, between COVID, between George Floyd. My partner is Black, and so I'm holding space for him and his feelings of being in America and being the son of an immigrant, and the weight that comes. I mean, it was so much. Like
Oh, yeah.
it's so hard to encapsulate really what happened the past like
Yes.
15 months because like it was so much. And honestly, I mean, seeing people rise, seeing people say, no, fuck this, no more, really helped me get everything going where I was like, no, I don't really feel like participating in the yoga studio model anymore because I would have to turn away my friends that couldn't afford it. And I was like, this is
Mm-hmm.
fucked up. Like, this isn't even ours. Like, yoga is not even mine. Like, why am I? So all these, deeper philosophical questions that I was asking myself.
Existential crisis were rampant. Yes.
Yeah. It was all those things. And so it really acted as a catalyst, like you said, or a stimulus for changing everything, which I'm all for because, back in my early days of doing 12 step, I mean, they were like, you only got to change one thing and that's everything. So I really was like, okay. And yeah, between, holding a person accountable for, some really awful things that happened to me 4 years ago, me and many other victims, that I'm starting to walk into starting next month. Um, so many essential things needed to change. And man, did it create space for an incredible reality that I'm living right now. Like, really, I mean, that I feel like I got threaded through the eye of the needle. And I was so ready for that. And so when people are like, why are you in Orlando, Florida? Why would you ever go to Florida? And because I grew up in LA. To me, LA is the shit. LA is my home. LA was everything. But I also wove LA into my existence as if I'm not doing it here, it doesn't matter anywhere. And I was like, why am I limiting myself like that?
Mm.
Like, why am I saying that I'm not going to be a successful teacher except in LA? And I was like, oh, I gotta leave. Like, I need to leave now because I just said that out loud. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I'm here,
Oh,
I just
so
went on a train, girl.
no,
I'm
this is
sorry.
good. No, don't apologize. This is what we do here. This is part of this experience, and man, I can relate to so much of what you said. I had a similar experience back in 2013. um, Tori, my partner, was going through like a really, I'm like existential crisis himself. He was actually going through a lot of just personal things, and he needed a change, and I felt like, oh, I can't be a proponent for change if I'm so stuck to being here in LA, because I had that same mentality. And I'm back in LA now, but we lived in Portland for many years, like 4 years, and it took me leaving to feel that experience where, oh, right, like LA isn't the center of the universe. Things can happen. And in fact, I would have stayed in Portland, and I say this, and Tori knows this, but I didn't actually want to leave Portland. I loved it. I didn't want to come back to LA, but I did, and I'm grateful to be here. But it's those are the moments where you allow that growth to happen. But I think that's part of being a yogi too, right? You have that discernment to say, oh, I said that out loud, now I have to do it. Like, now there's no way for me to not do it, because I've shined the light on it, and now here it is. You said something, and I'm happy to not go into it if you don't want. So it's really up to you. This is our time together. It just so happens that I have a very close friend that I work with that has had a similar experience in a program where she has had something happen, and um, she was the person that had to call it out and be the sort of spearhead of this situation. And now she's in a position where this is your community. It's like one of our biggest fear internally is being turned away from our tribe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in that experience, like, you're put in a situation where you have to change so much of the norm, right? You have to change so much of the status quo or the ecosystem that you've created in your life, especially when you have a support group or people that are sort of supportive in your ability to heal. What happens when you don't have that anymore? Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what can somebody do in a situation where now you no longer have the safety of being in LA, you no longer have the safety of the people that you no longer have the safety of a place that you thought was safe? What happens then? Like, what do you do in that situation?
I mean, for me, I go by my intuition and what my gut is telling me. And I don't have a clean answer, but I do have an experience that I'll share, because to me, experiences are the best ways to answer questions sometimes. And before we moved here, we lived in San Diego for a while, which I love. Same thing. We didn't want to leave San Diego. Who would want to leave San Diego? It's like it's like LA turned down to 60 volume, with like better tacos sometimes. And and I told myself, like, okay, so I'm in this new area now, so I need to, embed myself within the community. And Rosie, I don't, it just never stuck. Like,
Mm,
I never found it again. And is that because, when I first came in, I was a child, that I was 14? And, when I finally got my shit together, I was 17 years old. And so I had this, like, I don't know what it was, but what I do know is that after I read this book called Quit Like a Woman by Holly Whitaker, Holly something, I'm pretty sure
yes, I
Holly
think you're
something,
right.
um, which was a feminist perspective on sobriety and on social justice in sobriety. And it was a aspect that I did not know, but needed to. I mean, I just cried the entire time I listened to it, because they were like, I mean, she said things like, how do you process sexual trauma through a program written by a man that, for my knowledge, I did not experience this when the whole thing is about finding your part, you know? And so like, and there's not a single experience. There's unfortunately multiple experiences that I've been through. And every time, you know, it's like we butt up against these old adages of like, well, did you look at him? Or like, well, what were you wearing? You know? And so I was
Mm-hmm.
just like, what the fuck? I can't do this, you know? And I mean, she really gave me full permission and said things that I was afraid of saying, like, yeah, what if you drink again? Because to me, they told me to drink is to die, and I was afraid of dying. Like I didn't want to die, and I didn't want to disappoint my people that believed in me, you know, from the beginning. And so I had to like trust fall essentially, and just be like, I got to do this differently. And it feels right, like it just felt right in my heart, but it was the most painful thing, just telling people like, hey, I need to try some different things because I feel like a therapy Olympian and I can talk about this shit over and over, but there's some untapped shit and I need to go into some other avenues in order to dig this out. That was my cat. You
What a
agree, baby? You agree, huh?
what a perfect.
So good. She was like, period.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so so yeah, I mean it's like just like anything, like why are we attached to something? Why are we attached to living in one place or attached to one group or one way of thinking of things? If anything, you know, these past few months have taught me that anything and everything is subject to change.
Mm.
And to
Yes.
be adaptable, like to roll with the punches, to be willing to be like, huh, I guess that doesn't work anymore, is okay. And you can change, you can shift. And there's a lot of freedom in that, a lot of freedom.
Yeah. What is your favorite thing about being able to hold space for people, be it to be a teacher?
My favorite thing about that is watching people start to become themselves, like unapologetically, you know? Because I think yoga in the West has done a really amazing thing and introduced a lot of people to tools that helps them become healthier. If you want to get more scientific about it, helps them modulate their nervous system, helps them to find healthier coping mechanisms, you know. I mean, with anything, everything can also be overdone. Um, but when I started to watch people be like, yeah, I can do this and I can also be this person. If anything, this thing, doing this yoga or this movement, enables me to be who I wanted to be, who I suppressed, who I silenced, who I was afraid of putting out there. Because I honestly feel like our ultimate motivation for a lot of things is to actually just be connected to people.
Yeah. It's so true. So poetic. It's true. And part of my process through navigating what a yogi is supposed to be like or look like was really challenging for me as well because I thought, oh, like I'm from East LA and I wear sweats and a hoodie to yoga. Like I don't have $100 pants to wear. You know, I want to be able to do this practice in a way but there's that part that feels like, how do I fit into this? And oh, I have to be this way. I have to be like everybody else. I have to, you know, listen to Tibetan bells all day long. Like I can't put, like I can't listen to Tupac and I can't put Deftones on. Like I got to listen to, all the Tibetan bells and yoga music, or else I'm not going to be a yogi. Right. So I think just piggybacking on what you're saying, that it creates that empowerment, right? So, but we have to see it modeled through teachers like yourself. We have to be able to see, oh, right, this is something that we get to do for ourselves. And part of the process of yoga is cultivating that discernment to know what to do when we're not on the safety of our mat or our cushion. And to me, yoga is radical love. I mean, that's why I started the podcast, because I'm like, what this is something that we can do to, as a tool, like you were saying, for our journey to connect to that highest part of ourselves and to be more of who we are. And part of what, if you study yoga philosophy, I mean, part of the the Yoga Sutras, or what we study, is like we have to do the work to excavate what is there, to bring to light, to make the unconscious conscious, so that we can be more grounded and make decisions from a clearer state of being, so that we can feel more confident. Because if we don't do that internal work, we're just going to be, like a magnified version of our inner asshole, as opposed to just being a magnified version of our highest self. But I like what you're saying, because I think it's important to hear somebody tell us that it's okay to fuck up, and it's okay to, you know,
Please fuck up.
right?
Please. Oh my God. Please, everybody, fuck up immediately. It's so important. Oh my God. Okay. And also, can I piggyback off of what you just said? I
Yes,
know you were
please.
going somewhere, but you just brought up so much in me because, like, okay, we know that doing physical asana is one part of this 8-limbed path. Okay. We understand that. We're very obsessed with doing it. It makes you feel good, look good, whatever, blah, blah, blah. To me, when you are going through that body part, the body part of it, I think is described as like the kosas, or like the layers. Okay. There's a lot of people that are stuck in the body layer. They can go no deeper. You hand them the tools to where their body communicates with them, but they refuse to go deeper. I saw this all the time when I was working in treatment facilities with very traumatized people. Amazing things would happen when they would do this stuff, feel the things, which usually came from being very uncomfortable, feeling like, fuck this. I had people scream in my face telling me, fuck you, you fucking bitch. I don't want to do your dumbass yoga shit. And I was like, okay, all right, well, you can leave. And then they would leave. Or I would tell them, hey, bud, like, you ain't ready yet. Not for yoga. That fucking doesn't matter. The yoga is just the threshold. It's it's the hot dog bun. Like, we're just serving it to
Yeah.
you, right? Like like it's the dog pill in the fucking peanut butter, okay? Like that's what it is.
Oh my God, totally.
And like there's people that go deeper, and it's so amazing when that happens. Um but yeah, we are, and it doesn't surprise me, especially in America, because we're so patriarchal and capitalistic and sex obsessed and perfectionistic that we get very stuck on the body. So the people that go deeper without getting stuck in the trappings of ego are really incredible people to come by. But typically, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is because lately I've been able to actually be connected to like real people in India. Like, man, that like over the past year, the like Southeast Asians that I've been in contact with have completely changed the way I view yoga and the way it's presented in the West. And I'm so glad that they kind of shook me and was like, psh, like, hey, when you do this, it kind of looks like this to us. And I was like, holy shit, I don't want to be that person. So how can I do better? You know, it was like an hour conversation I had yesterday with some of my friends. And I was like, wow, like, I mean, I feel like a lot of people think everybody in India are just these high spiritual beings, and everybody is like, everybody goes to a shala and like everybody's vegan and everybody's Hindu, but it's not true. And so what I try to present to people is these borrowed practices that are not mine. And the way that I've alchemized them in my own body as a traumatized person, as a person that's been drug addicted, as a person that's been sexually abused and assaulted, and how it helped me just get a little bit freer and get a little more fucking space to breathe and to like be myself, to be the weirdo that I am.
Well, and I think that I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're
Continue.
good, but like that's what I'm trying to push out. And I know that I didn't answer your question at all, I don't think.
No,
But
you did. No, but you did. I mean, you're actually just showing more of what I was saying in the beginning when we first started. It's like, I think that it's an important, it's important not just as somebody who has a following or has students, but to be able to actually embody and practice what you preach, right? So I think that the reason why I was drawn to you so much is because, yeah, you can be you being yourself in whatever way you're alchemizing the tools for yourself, is inspiring for people to be able to do that as well. You know, like your ability to just take that in and just be more of who you are and make mistakes and still continue to learn and try and do better. I think that's inspiring because it shows us like, yeah, we don't have to be all things to all people. You know,
mm-hmm.
there's so much to learn. I mean, I like to say that I will forever be a student. You know, when people come and study with me or they take a training with me or they come to a retreat and they're fully transformed, you know, in for themselves. I did nothing. They transformed because they were able to actually feel what this practice created for them. Um, but that's not, it's like the teacher doesn't do that. Like we as the student have to be able to take action and do the things that we need to do in order to get there. It's not just bestowed upon us. It's not just given to us. We have these tools, that we can utilize to our advantage to become better, more connected, more grounded, more loving, more compassionate, more kind people. And I think that what you said is key. Like, I think everybody listening definitely go, you know, follow Tracy and you'll know exactly what I mean by what I'm saying is that there's just certain people that you can just see that they have that thing, you know, that thing where it's like, oh, this person's actually doing and practicing what they say they're doing. This person is actually, yeah, able to be silly and able to be themselves and able to really shine their authentic self. And it's not like we know when people aren't being authentic, right? So I'm going to attribute that to your commitment to healing, your commitment to your own recovery process, whatever that may be. And again, I'll say that it does have an impact. I mean, look at how we ended up here right now, you know, and
Yeah.
that's just, you know, I'm gonna continue to butter your biscuits, I guess, but that just speaks to your integrity and your level of showing up. And it's like I said, for teachers like myself, that is what I aspire to be. That is what I aspire to do as well. And it's okay for it to be difficult. It's not easy for everybody and it's not going to look the same on everybody. But I think it's important for us to continue to inquire within and to utilize the tools that we have to create that space, like you said, to breathe, you know?
Yeah, and to really look at like, what do you want to do? Who do you, how are you, how, why? Asking yourself why is great. Why am I doing this? And introspection, inventory, however you want to call it, to name it, and then actually like creating that change is just big power move. It's some BDE for sure.
Yes. 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 I love that. How do we
In my
change that
brain,
to no, 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 it's good. It's good.
as I was saying it, I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna say it. It
Yeah, no,
just
it's good.
is.
Yeah. I call it BHE, big hoop energy,
I
you
like
know?
that.
It's like you put the
Mm,
big hoops on and you're just like all of a
yeah,
sudden
girl.
you're
I'm
what
white as fuck, like the big hoops weren't for the white girls, but like
that's no, but that's not true. You shouldn't say that. I think be open. Try it.
yeah, you're right. No, you're right. You're
You
right.
know what
You're
I'm
right.
saying?
Absolutely, absolutely, 1000%.
Give it a try. All right. Well, that being said, I feel like this was an appetizer to more episodes with you. So thank you for that, and thank you for agreeing to be here. And like I said, it just it's nice for me to have somebody on where I get to fangirl out for a little bit because it feels good. It really does. So before I ask you the final question, where can people go for more information? Where can they reach out to you and find more of you?
So my website, www.tracylynnmovement.com. Um, you can sign up for newsletters. You can reach out to me and email me that way. It's TracyLynnMovement. And on Instagram, I'm very active on there. That's where I really keep stay in contact with people. So it's Tracy Lynn, same spelling, but with love. And I keep that Tracy Lynn with love all over across all the platforms. TikTok, you can find me in all the things. I do a lot of shit talking on TikTok. So if you're into that type of silliness where I just like to poke at people and be silly, that's where you can find me too. But yeah, so either my website or my Instagram, both of those things are great means of connection. So hopefully they're able to access through that.
Cool. And we will add all of those links in the info button wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching the video, it'll be in the description below. All of the links that Tracy mentioned will be there. And yes, please, those videos are hilarious. Okay. So, final question
Yes.
is about the podcast. I created the podcast because I wanted a place for people to go to get inspired or to just hear their story in somebody else's. And the whole idea is that we are radically loved and radically supported by God, Buddha, whatever higher power of your understanding. The universe works for us and not against us. And so the final question is, how do you feel radically loved?
I feel radically loved in so many ways. Um, Especially lately with the way that my partner has told me no matter what I want to do, to just start and to just be and to just learn along the way. Because as we learn, to me, when I accept myself through that process, it is the ultimate act of self love. And that's where I'll leave it today.
Thank you for making all my dreams come true. Tracy Lynn, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, remember to subscribe, rate, and review. Share this with your friends. And don't forget to tag us if you post this. Anywhere you post it, tag us. We love to hear how this landed with all of you. And even if it didn't, actually, if it didn't land, don't message us.
Just
Um,
don't. Even
just
though
don't.
I'm people like to message all sorts of weird things, but
It's, you guys just, it's fine if you don't have something nice to say.
guys, life
Um,
is a buffet. Take what you want and then leave the
what you
rest.
don't. That's right. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you all so much. And again, thank you, Tracy, for being here. And we'll see you guys next week.